Report on Talk Radio 570 KLIF. Debra Medina joining us as she speaks with reporters from all over North Texas and beyond on what has turned out to be an amazing day for her. Let's see if we can listen in. Debra?
I'm here.
Hi.
I'm here.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Been a big day.
It's been a big day.
Yeah,
Target, I think, means you get shot at, doesn't it?
Yeah, we had been talking about that. You know, when you're over the target, they take shots at you. One of them happened today with Glenn Beck. This is what happened, and he brought up something that we had never heard you comment on in any way until today on Radioactive Talk Radio 570 KLIF.
Then let me be more frank and ask you the question. Do you believe the government was any way involved with the bringing down of the World Trade Centers on 9/11?
I don't have all of the evidence there, Glenn, so I'm not in a place. I have not been out publicly questioning that. I think some very good questions have been raised in that regard. There's some very good arguments, and I think the American people have not seen all of the evidence there, so I've not taken a position on that.
Debra Medina, you haven't taken a position on whether or not the government was involved in 9/11, or was that a misspeak? What's going on there?
JD, if the question is, does Debra Medina believe Muslim terrorists flew planes into buildings in the United States? Absolutely. Do I believe that the government had anything to do, colluded with those terrorists to plan or perpetrate that act? No, I've not seen that evidence. But there was a 9/12 commission that did a report, and there's great bodies of that report that are confidential data. You don't know what's in that. I presume you don't know what's in that report. I don't know what's in that report. And I am going to respect the right of citizens to ask questions of their government. And that's what I'm trying to say here, from Glenn Beck, who champions people questioning government, to ask me, I think, about whether or not people should be asking questions of the government. Yes, people should be asking questions of the government, and we've asked those questions about global warming. We've asked them about 9/11. We've asked them about the president's birth certificate. There's all kinds of questions. The real underlying sentiment here is that why in a free society do we have so many questions about what our government is doing? Do many of us feel like, apparently we do, that we're being lied to? And I don't want to ever convey, I expect the people of Texas to hold me accountable and to ask me hard and tough questions. I expect that we're going to open the book and we're going to make it very clear what's going on within the government of the great state of Texas. I can't say that that's happened up till now, and I can't say that it's happening in our country. I believe terrorists flew planes into buildings. I don't believe our government had anything to do with those terrorists.
But you certainly did leave the question opened. It would have been easy to slam that door, and I'm wondering how come you didn't.
Because I thought I was being asked about people asking the question, and I think that they're valid questions, and I've not read the commission report, but I've certainly heard the allegations that there are big bodies of evidence that we've not been given access to. Never been accused, as you indicated, never been accused, never talked about, never been asked about what my opinions were. So pretty much out of left field for me, and not something I've formulated a gubernatorial response on. I am telling you as honestly as I can. I believe people flew planes into buildings. I don't think the government put them up to that or assisted them in any way, but I think that I'm concerned about the large volumes of evidence that have been kept from people that are in that report that are redacted as confidential. That concerns me.
All right. Thank you very much for that, for clearing that up, Debra Medina. Have you ever spoken about this before? I'd like to know. Have you ever spoken about this issue before today?
Never.
Huh.
And never. I'm not even sure that we've ever had a discussion over our dinner table about it.
And it just came completely out of left field.
Came completely out of left field.
All right. Were you caught by surprise?
Completely.
Okay, and do you think that you mishandled the answer in retrospect?
I just heard that little clip that you'd given. Certainly it created a firestorm there. I have not professed to be a polished politician. I profess to be an average Texan, common sense, common values trying to defend the Constitution and a constitutional republic. I'm not going to purport to be professional or give, these very eloquent, articulate answers all the time. I want people to know they've got an everyday citizen searching and trying and struggling and wanting to lead, and I believe we've got a great plan and a great thing going here for Texas, and so I'm not going to apologize for being that person. Had I been given an opportunity to think about it and, prepare as we did in the debate for things that we think are going to be coming up, would I have been more articulate? You bet. If I had time to go back and research and read, would I be able to talk more specifically about the questions you raised today? You bet. But I'm focused on Texas right now. We're talking about events that happened 7 years ago, tragic events in our nation's history. But Debra Medina is very focused on what's going on in Texas and restoring constitutional republic here. And polished answers are not always what you're going to get from me. And I believe Texas is ready for that kind of citizen leader, someone that is honest and forthright. And that's what I'm doing here today.
All right, thanks very much for that. As we try to unravel all of this, I'm glad that you said that what happened is, and by the way, we're speaking with Debra Medina on the TexasLending.com hotline. What you were answering was not necessarily the question about the truther movement. You were answering a question that your mind took you to, which was whether people had an opportunity to question the government. Is that essentially what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right, cool deal. Greg in Rockwall, thanks for joining us. Do you have a comment for Debra Medina or a question?
Yeah, I've got a comment concerning her interview with Glenn Beck. It's in her favor.
Go ahead. Please say it.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to say that I heard the interview today, and one of the things I heard before the interview was that Glenn Beck actually made a statement about supporting Rick Perry based on the fact that Rick Perry told him in confidence that he would pull the trigger on a death row inmate if he had to do it himself. And basically, that's why Glenn Beck supports Rick Perry. And I find it kind of ironic that Glenn Beck would support a candidate like that while at the same time being able to put down another candidate based on total speculation.
Yeah, I think he's got a point there, Deborah. What would you say to that?
Well, there's a lot there, JBB. We talk about the death penalty and its appropriateness. I think many of us have marveled at, politics makes strange bedfellows, right? We've marveled at Sarah Palin endorsing Rick Perry. We've marveled at Glenn Beck's enamor with Rick Perry. Something doesn't feel right here, and we've seen that in this race. We've seen that in politics, and it's why the Tea Parties and the 912 groups are out there, frankly, because we aren't trusting what's going on with our government. I'm here questioning that. We're making great headway. We're going to get attacked. We're going to stay focused on the campaign. We're going to win this race. The dust will settle, and people will see that I really am who I say I am, and they'll draw their own conclusions, I guess, about what Glenn's motives are and what the governor's motives are.
Paul in Ellis, what is your question for Debra Medina?
Deborah, it's Paul. I would just like to say that I think that the Texas elections ought to be for Texans and hopefully just Texans' input ought to matter, and that I have known Debra Medina to be a patriotic, grounded woman with a balanced family life, and I have nothing but respect for her.
All right. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. If you've got a question for Debra Medina, the telephone number 214-787-1570, 800-583-1570 outside the Metroplex, pound KLIF. On your AT&T wireless telephone, Debra Medina having a tough day with Glenn Beck regarding a question that was misunderstood by Ms. Medina. And by the way, it's very refreshing, Deborah, that you would say that, hey, I misunderstood the question and I gave the wrong answer. You answered a question that Glenn had not asked. And when you tried to clarify yourself, did you believe that Glenn maybe tried to run roughshod over what you were trying to say?
Well, I don't know if we were having technical difficulties or if that's just a game that some people play, but I never heard him trying to stop me. I never heard him on my end of the phone. I don't know what all y'all can do in studio, but I did think that it was kind of odd on that show that I was being given 2 or 3 minutes to talk without any kind of interruption, find out from my husband and my daughter after the interview that, in fact, he was saying, okay, we got your answer. Okay, we got your answer. So that's the thing, I think. Whether that was intentional or it was technical difficulty, I do not know, but it doesn't feel very good on this end.
I bet you it didn't. Debra Medina, our guest, she's agreed to stick with us for another segment. We'll have Debra Medina after the top of the hour here on Talk Radio 570 KLIF. Coming to the truth of it, truth spoken here, not necessarily by the host, but certainly every chance I get, I do my best to give you the truth. Deborah's bringing you her side of the truth. You've got yours. Let's all get together coming up here in just a few more minutes as Debra Medina joins us on the Wells Report. Glenn Beck, talked to her today on a national issue that she said she misunderstood. Do you believe her? Do you have a question for Debra Medina yourself? Let's all put it together here as we continue on this very, very snowy Thursday night. You are listening to the Wells Report. This